I'm Brenda, and I'm watching my husband make what he has made for many years, the very best chocolate chip cookies in the world. And so far, well, I'll give you the recipe and then we're going to tune into what he is doing so far. Here is the recipe. And if you follow his instructions, you'll have the best chocolate chip cookies you ever ate. These are going to be a little different today because we're going to use walnuts instead of pecans, because my son is here and he brought us fresh walnuts from his walnut tree. And here's my husband, Ed.
Hi! My wife loves these cookies that I make. Stu, her son, loves these cookies that I make. What I have here is 1 cup of brown sugar, 1 cup of regular sugar, 2 eggs, well beaten, and vanilla, a teaspoon of vanilla. When I first got started, I mixed the 2 sugars together, made sure they were well mixed. Then I blended in a cup of butter, blended that well, and now I have this mess. I'm going to add to this mess 2 cups plus 4 tablespoons of flour, plus a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of baking soda. And this is actually the more difficult part of the whole process. I've given this recipe to some people, and about this point they kind of get disgusted. They think I've told them the wrong amount of flour, because it's kind of hard to blend this much flour in with this much, a couple eggs and the sugar. But what you have to do is just keep mixing and mixing and mixing until finally it's all absorbed. And once this gets absorbed, then I'll add Stu's walnuts and some chocolate chips, and then I'll bake it on this sheet at 375 for about 9 minutes. Usually the first batch, 9.5 minutes. Once the pans get a little hot, basically 9 minutes. I make when I make the cookies, I use a spoon about this size because I like very small cookies because they're tastier that way. They're nice and crisp, and you'll love them.
So while he's mixing the mix, I will say that Ed is very, very conscientious about everything that he does. And one of the things that we're doing a little different today for a test is we've got these wonderful green pans from Sur La Table, and they're fabulous. You don't have to use any butter or shortening or anything. You just put whatever you're baking on here and nothing ever sticks. So we're going to try that today. And Ed has a certain way that he likes to, where he likes to load the cookies after he takes them out of the oven. And he puts them on just a plastic tray, which I'll show you in a minute. And they seem to just keep a lot of good moisture that way. It's quite amazing. So he's very finicky about what is done with his chocolate chip cookies. So stay tuned, because you'll find out just how they end up so delicious. How you doing there?
I'm mixing. It's starting to come together.
Yeah, it's looking good.
As you can see, when you get to this point, you realize I didn't tell you wrong. It's the right amount of flour, and they come out dollop by dollop once all this is together and the nuts and the chocolate is in there. But I'm going to pay a little more attention to what I'm doing at the moment, because I want to make sure that all this flour gets enveloped in with the sugar and the eggs, etc.
And remember that plastic tray I told you about. This is just an ordinary plastic tray, but for some reason it works really well. After the cookies are taken off the platter, the cooking sheet, then you just pile them on here. And sometimes he makes 3, 4, 5 batches at one time. So we have this huge thing full of cookies, and they are all perfect, all delicious. How are you doing there? About ready to put them on the
Sweetie,
baking sheet?
no, I'm still getting this ready, and the nuts and the
Oh.
chips are not in there yet.
Got to put the nuts and chips
Yeah,
in.
yeah, but
Okay.